I was
Yeah.
talking about how my brother is like a master at Photoshop and I know
Mhm.
nothing about it. So this is really
Mhm.
exciting for me to get into this world of digital media and mess around. And anything that I learn from this is going to be just awesome. So I'm just so excited for anything that I can gain out of this. And I do have to take it, but I'm really looking forward to it, like, because I don't know anything about it. So I'm really excited.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Uh, Fabiana, do you want to briefly tell us like what drew you to the course and what was the first like what was maybe one or two things that stuck out? Thank you, Kelly. About why you wanted to take it.
Well, I didn't know I was gonna take it.
Uh huh.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
true, but it's great because as I mentioned in my introduction, I draw. Um, I
Yeah.
draw a lot. I paint, but I am terrible at Photoshop.
Okay.
So it works out perfectly because I was in. I have this. I have a lot of ideas. I have a website,
Sure.
and I need to start putting new graphics to my website. So this is
Absolutely.
happening at the right time.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, we're some of the things you said. I don't know if this must just be coincidental, chance, serendipity, whatever you want to call it. But like some of you literally said, really want to do a business card for my company, or somebody said I want to do a what was it like a t-shirt design because they do clothing drop ship type business, and I was like that's what we're gonna do here. So like I wasn't planning that to be like so specifically catered to you, and some people might have different projects, and that's actually what I'm really excited about this course is I designed the course around sort of thinking about what your needs might be, but also you're free to pitch something. If you don't like the exact specifications of the project, you can totally pitch me an idea, and you know we can cover that more. We'll cover that more throughout the course. Hey Ty, welcome.
Hey,
Hi.
thank you. Glad
Yeah.
to finally be here. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we're just kind of checking in, getting touching base about like what it is that drew you to the course, and initially why. I guess like what is a brief summary of what it is that you're here to learn, and yeah, would you mind sharing that?
Ooh, let's see. Long story short, um, so I specialize in filmmaking. Like that's what my major is for.
Nice.
So I want to be able to, as far as like goals, I want to be able to understand Photoshop so that I can design my posters.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a t-shirt company. Like it's awesome that y'all spoke about that. So I have a t-shirt company that I'm making designs for. I make designs for it. I kind of use like a little offshoot, but it still works.
Sure.
But yeah. So I want to be able to design better graphic shirts, and then also just overall artistic expression. Yeah. So those are my three things.
That's perfect. That's thank you for that. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll get into that more. Taylor, would you mind sharing your 2 cents about why you're here, what you're here to learn?
I'm one of those rare people that like have to take this course. I love Photoshop and all of Adobe Creative
Mm-hmm.
Cloud. The ones that I use frequently are After Effects and Premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use DaVinci Resolve for like coloring and things like that, but mostly it's film making that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be cool to like know these elements because my band has, I don't know if whenever the label's not making our artwork, like we get to do that ourselves. So
Yeah.
that would be cool to like know, like, just be able to communicate with them
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
like, yeah, the elements that we want and don't want.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know Photoshop well at all. I know the editing software. So this will be an interesting get.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. It's going to be interesting. And again, like I mentioned before, if you have a specific thing that you want to focus on and we're not covering it, like let's say you go through the lesson plan, you're like, okay, we learn these tools, we're learning this, but you want to learn something really specific, either towards design or the program itself, and you're like, I really need to figure this one thing out, and it's not in the course, just tell me. And that's what Saturdays are for. I structured the course so that we have 2 webinars. Mondays are like, if anything, come to the Monday thing if you can't make anything else. but then we have Friday to kind of recap and also for any questions, and specifically it's like a smaller kind of focus group. And then Saturdays are just all morning, and I'm just available for 15-20 minutes for you guys to like just hit me with everything, like any questions you have specific to the course. So that's kind of how I structured it. I know this is kind of part-time for you guys. I did pack the course quite a bit, but I think since a lot of you are, it seems like a lot of you are pretty tech savvy and you have your head around design. So I'm hoping that some of it will be repeats of things you've already learned, and some of it will just like go really smooth. And then it's basically a project-based course. So it's really going to focus more heavily on participation and then you doing the work. And you doing the work means like, as much as you need feedback from me and as much as you need to communicate, that's why I'm here. That's literally what I'm doing. This is my full-time job. You could say that right now. So, hit me up about anything. So I'm going to start officially. So yeah, my name is Paul Moorhead Jr. Hello, everybody. I am I consider myself a visual storyteller first and foremost. I do books, children's book illustration. I've been a 2D animator for about 10 years, and I teach. I'm kind of a new teacher in the last few years. And this is the course. Welcome, y'all. Layers of Creativity. So, this is actually an interesting course for me because I'm really passionate about Photoshop and design. And I've been teaching all sorts of different courses here. I taught a podcasting course last semester, and then a comics course last year. That was kind of like my baby. That was like my course. It was like this comics class. And this is the first time I've actually got to teach specifically a tool that I know really well. And I think you guys will be excited to like jump in with me. I'm excited. So, So yeah, we're meeting here every Monday, 5 to 6 p.m. Central. And then again, that's awesome if you can make Monday nights. If you cannot, please come on Friday, 5 to 6 p.m. same time, Central Standard Time, USA. And if you can't make either of those, you do not get deducted points. And I would love for you to show up at either of those, but if you can only meet on Saturdays and that's all, you're still getting graded for participation. You still get points for that. And that's going to be much more heavily focused. You'll have like 20 minutes of or a little more maybe of my time, depending on what you need. So those are going to be really cool one-on-one sessions. Okay, so like some logistics. Canvas is where I want everyone to communicate with me. So please just like, if you need to communicate, just send me a DM in Canvas, not in my email or any other way. If somehow you have my phone number, I don't know how you have it, but just, keep it to the platform, keep it to Canvas. That really helps a lot. Yeah, what else? So discussion boards, I would really love for you all to just be like engaging and communicating with each other through the discussion forum. That to me is the most effective way to like create a group and a coherence and a unit of a class. Since it is kind of part-time online, it's totally different than I'm used to teaching, but it's all good. Who here has Photoshop and is like, you have it on your computer, you have it installed? Okay, we got 3, 4. Oh, everybody, sweet, awesome. I'm sure there's some people who don't, but that's really good. Some people will need some help with that, I'm sure. Let's see what else we got. Yeah. First assignment. Let's talk about the first assignment. We just covered most of the logistics, honestly. Share screen. Here we go. All right. So this is the first assignment. It's basically a collage, okay? So let's do a little round robin reading session if you guys don't mind, just so it's not just me talking. I just don't like that. It's not really a class environment. Ty, would you mind reading this first part here? This in blue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Here we'll be exploring the Photoshop tools we are learning and create a digital collage that is interesting, experimental, and unique to your tastes, interests, and creativity. Make sure to practice creating named multiple Photoshop layers for each of your elements.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll get into this more about the layers and all that, but basically this is part of your grade is actually organization. So just like anything, when you're creating a complex piece of content, it's really important that you kind of have a hierarchy in your mind or have a system in your mind about how you're going to go about it. And I actually, I'm not going to go into this right now, but we will talk about this more. It's going to be in the first week. We'll cover layers. You'll see a video on it. You'll learn about it. But basically, as you go through, you want to build up a structure of different elements. So if you're making a collage, and you're let's just say you're taking a photograph and you're putting it into Photoshop, and then you're taking like a piece of text or something else, the text is going to be on a different layer than the photograph, right? And Adobe sort of has this whole, actually Adobe was the first program to implement layers. Adobe 2 or 3 was this guy actually invented the layer system, which is now universal across many software and design platforms. All right, so Kelly, would you mind reading these little guidelines here, please?
Yeah. Okay, guidelines. You can use stock photographs, icons, images, and/or symbols in your assignment, so long as they are edited to where they no longer represent the artist's original version, and/or modified to an extent to not fall under copyright law. Note: tweak the color, flip the image, remove part of it will be sufficient to keep your work safe under copyright laws.
Thank you. Is that clear? Does that makes some sense? So basically, there is this thing where, like, if you take someone else's art, I like to say this. It's like Picasso said, "Great artists steal." He said something about not great artists, but basically, great artists steal, which means if you're really going to take something that you're inspired by, what you're doing is you're taking a large part of it and you're adapting it into your own work. There's this whole like stigma around creativity and originality in art, and a lot of people say that in fact there really is nothing new under the sun. Design is actually just borrowed from other people who have done it before successfully, and it's been adapted and modernized and updated. So we had this sort of creativity exercise for those of you who did fill it out. Like, it's amazing what you wrote, and I responded to it, but the idea of creativity equating to originality, I think, is like, it's just not correct. I think it's a misnomer. I think that, in fact, anything original is actually a hybridization of things that you're taking from different sources and adapting to something completely new. And I just want you to kind of think of that. Like, it can be intimidating to try to create something new and original. And I really don't think it's actually possible because it's always like you're going to touch on something that's been done by somewhere else or someone else. And so, yeah, that's just my kind of philosophy on it. All right, I'm going to read this part because this is a little more dry. And so I'm not going to be grading you guys on like your art style, right? Or your aesthetics or the choice of your subject matter. It'd be good if you could keep it PG-13 in this course. I'm not going to force that. I'm not going to say like you can't do, like some seriously graphic stuff, but I wouldn't suggest it just because, I don't know. It's just like, we just want to keep it lighter in this course, unless you really have something that you deeply need to express, and you can like write me a message and be like, hey, I really need to do this. This is my therapy and I need to get into this like heavy space and create some content around that. That's okay. But I just like, let me know if that's your plan, so I know how to inform the students. Like, there might be some graphic content coming your way. But I am going to be grading you on how well you actually stay organized. So you're going to get into Photoshop, you're going to be having like a layer system, and you're going to be building up these layers and naming them and keeping them organized. That's really important. Also, how well you're using the Photoshop tools to solve problems. As well as the first piece of content, we're not going to require you to put online on social media, but I would like the second and third and fourth assignment to go up on a platform. And you can actually keep this private. You do not have to publicize it, but we want it for this course for you to have the experience of actually putting like a creation that you made on, say, Behance or Instagram or your Facebook artist page, whatever you feel called to. So those things are going to be part of your grade. Let me know if you're not comfortable with those things. Pretty much the only thing I would think the social media thing you might have questions about, but we will get into that more. Okay, and then I'm actually going to read this part too, because we haven't even, this is going to make sense further down the course. But so I want you to be using the tools as we learn Photoshop. So the requirements are that you use at least 3 tools. So for example, you're going to be learning the selection tool very quickly. And so showing somehow that you use that tool, meaning like, let's say you take something and you cut it out and you use the selection tool to cut it out and then you paste it in your collage. That's one tool. You just accomplished that goal. Now let's just say there's like a cool part of the image that you want to change or alternate. You could color it with the paintbrush. You could like add a little quirky something, X or something over the eye. There's all sorts of stuff you could do. And then the eraser tool. So you're basically erasing out part of the image. That's an example. So that's really easy. It's just like, oh, you use 3 Photoshop tools. Just show me that you did that, basically. So that's just to get you feeling into like, okay, we're learning the program, and you're showing that you're learning the program. Now this is a little bit more developed. This is a color. We're gonna talk about color this week, and a little bit about, actually quite a bit about color theory. And there's like a whole section on that. And so there's a couple different ways to look at this. One, you can keep it really simple, and you could just make your entire image one color. Like you could like change the color spectrum to just be blue, and then everything in your collage is blue. You're completely free to do that. Now you've just accomplished that color style, that component of your color style, right? So I'm not getting heavy on this grading stuff. I'm just trying to get you to think about these systems and these tools that we're going to learn. And then one compositional principle. So that will come a little bit later. You'll see after color, there's this composition. And for those of you who knows like a little bit about who took a photography course with ever in their lives, or do you guys know about the rule of thirds or that kind of thing? Okay, Fabiana, not so much. So basically, there's a whole section on that in the course. I'll show you real quick. Right here, in color theory and composition. It should say composition and color theory, not illustration. That's bizarre. All right, so right here we've got these tabs, right? And so color, there's a whole thing I created on color, talking about the different styles of color: monochromatic, analogous, complementary. And you can go crazy with this, or you can just keep it very simple. So that's the color part, and I'm not going to spoil it for you because I created a kind of a fun like rainbow spectrum of different film scenes. But composition is what we were just talking about, right? And so composition, it breaks down what the different elements of composition are. And then, for example, here is a compositional component, like a balance, right? If there's equal distribution of weight on 2 sides, that's considered a compositional technique. Or if it's symmetrical on all sides, that's a symmetry-based technique. Now asymmetrical. So basically, here's the rule of thirds. I'll just explain it really quick because so we're on the same page. Basically, you have an image. You're breaking it down into a 9-grid panel, right? So there's 2 vertical lines, 2 horizontal lines. Now, where those lines intersect, you see right here where the wolf's eye is. That's considered a focal point. And that's where the eye has a tendency of going. So your eye, the human eye, naturally gravitates to things that you would think you just are going to jump right to the center, and some people might. But statistically, most people look at these focal points. They look at these 4 spots right here are called focal points. So you can actually see there's like the head just lines right up to that focal point and the rock that he's standing on. So that's the example of that. Of the rule of thirds. Do you have questions about that, Fabiana? Does that make sense? Or, yeah? Okay. And you can read through this again on your own. I just wanted to sort of be on the same page with everybody. Okay, cool. Last point. Use your creative judgment to play with the objects until you find a pleasing composition, and then try saving different versions as you go to maximize your creative workflow. Okay, so what I mean by that is, as you're creating, say you come up with an idea and you sort of like it, but you want to push it a lot further, you could save a version of that and then just keep working, and then save a new version, and then just keep working and save a new version. So as you're going, you're showing a process of actually developing your idea further and further and further. And what that actually helps you do is it kind of frees you up from like thinking that you're going to make a mistake or thinking that you're, you know, just like it gives you more freedom basically. So that's what I suggest to do. Here's the resources. I'm giving you guys some pretty cool free stock photo resources. And then this I'm super excited about. The Smithsonian literally just released almost 3 million digital images from 200 years of data. It's crazy. So if you get inspired by any of these things, just feel free to like make a folder on your computer and just start populating, you know, and create a folder that's named, and then just start adding stuff that you like. And then you can, over the course of the week, start building out your collage, right? That's how I would do it. Creative Market, this does have free photographs, but this is also a spot that has many templates. It's got different like fonts and even ideas for like resumes and like business card stuff. It's got a whole bunch of stuff. Not everything is free, but you can find a lot of free content on there. So yeah, that's the rundown for this intro. Does anyone have questions or comments or anything y'all want to run by me? Or how are you feeling about all that? Does that sound doable? Is it a lot? You can be honest. Yeah, you're good? Okay, cool. Well, if anyone has any questions, Fabiana, go ahead. Yeah, you were going to say something? Oh, no. If you have specific questions, just DM me. Just like, you know, feel free to communicate with me as if we're emailing, and I can just jump on your questions and answer them. So your guys' homework for tonight is pretty much just go in to... Oh, Ty, sorry, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about when you said how graphic, and I'm not talking about like horror movie, like trailers and stuff like that, but it said PG-13. So is that like 1990s PG-13, or is that like late 2000s PG-13?
Late, we'll say late 2000s, or let's say late 2000s.
Right.
No, nothing that you would see like blurred out in like a, you know, in like, let's put if it's tasteful, you can depict some nudity, but don't go hardcore. You know, don't be like ridiculous.
Like Jonah Hill and Superbad with all the.
Yeah. I mean, and if you just make everything blue, you'll be like, look, it's art, you know, and I'll be like, yes, you're right, it's amazing. So like you can get away with a lot here. Okay. And you know, I'm probably the only one that's going to see any of this work aside from your classmates. And speaking of that, I do want to so I'm not sure if you guys see something different here, but when I look at the course, here's what I see. I see all these course orientation materials, and it looks like a lot, right? There's like all this stuff. Now, there's some cool stuff in here, like student resources. I don't know if you've ever looked at that. Here's the webinar information. So in case you actually need to know, or if you lose the link or you forget the times, it's all here. Then there's also a Zoom meeting link on the left. I think you guys should have that. If you click on that, that literally just opens Zoom, and I think you should just join. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But let me just share with you. This I created in advance in case people have like questions that I could just answer off the bat. These are best practices for efficient working in Photoshop. So we mentioned this earlier. Taylor, would you mind reading this number one for us?
Yes. 1 second. Am I unmuted? Yes, I am. Okay. Save. Routinely save new versions of your files. I recommend one new version every 30 to 45 minutes, or whenever you make major changes to the concept.
Thanks much. Kelly, would you read number 2, please?
Yeah, backup. Create a system to back up your work as you go, either to Google Drive, Adobe Creative Cloud, or an external hard drive.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys all know that, you know, anything man-made is prone to failure, and especially nowadays drives are really good, like they've gotten a lot better, but I highly recommend you just use your incredible Google Drive for you. I think has almost unlimited storage, so you can go pretty crazy with that, and that's as long as you're in school, you have access to that, and I think it's like at least 90 days out of school. So I would make hardcore use of that while you're still in school. Just like create, a whole plethora of library of assets. Ty, would you mind reading this next part 3, please?
Bam, there we go. All right, so keep a timer. Block out chunks of productivity throughout your workday. It's very important to recognize that we are not made to function at peak performance all the time, even when you're being asked to. Breaking things into more manageable chunks of time, example, the Pomodoro technique, 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off, can dramatically increase your likelihood of being productive over a longer period of time.
Sweet, thanks. So you may have heard of this. Harvard actually did a study on this, that the brain is not meant to do what we do. I mean, most like working situations, it's like you're down for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day in front of the computer. You get these little breaks. It's actually literally what do you call it? Like it's a pandemic in and of itself. It's the like, working force pandemic, and it's just not how we function. It's not how humans are literally meant to function. So I highly recommend taking these kind of breaks, especially if you're on the computer all day, which I know many of you are. So Fabiana, could you read us number 4?
Limit your input to one project at once and minimize any distractions, i.e. phone, additional tabs, emailing, music with distracting lyrics. Music is actually fine as long as it's not reducing your focus to a minimum. Stay on top of your effectiveness and edge without anything that distracts you.
Thanks. Yeah, so I mean, again, these are just suggestions. These are just things that work for me. I said this already, like take breaks, the 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off thing, you can try. I think it's really cool. I think it actually works well. If you're doing like a huge chunk of time, you need to just chew on like 4 hours, 5 hours. But yeah, you guys are, meditators. You do yoga, I'm sure, some of you. It's important to get that body going so you can like get the oxygen flowing, so you can get your brain at peak capacity more often. And just like anything, get outside, exercise, helps you get focused and get your best work done throughout the day. I just wanted to share that. I think it's kind of fun. And so I'm going to say this. We only really technically have 3.5 weeks together, and that's going to go by very quickly. So the main thing for me is just that you're extra communicative, and so don't hesitate. Like if you have questions, even if you're just feeling like I am overwhelmed, I don't even know what to do, this seems like a lot, I'm happy to just respond and just like, okay, let's talk about it, or like let's go through this process and maybe there's something I can assist you with. That's just my job, and I'm not just doing it for that. I really appreciate being fortunate enough to be able to teach. I think it's an amazing, it's crazy for me to do this because I'm not like this type of personality, but I really enjoy the process and connecting and being able to serve and actually help people and to help you guys do what you need to do to get your projects off the ground, to get your businesses, to get your whatever it is, your brand, if you want to go viral, like I'll help you with that, just let me know. Yeah, so that's it. And if anybody has questions, otherwise you're free to jump in. Oh yeah, and sorry, your homework is just to do the discussions. So reply to the intro discussion and the creativity discussion. And so anytime there's a discussion, there's a 2-point discussion, which is really basic. You just basically respond and you just kind of give your 2 cents. And then there's a 5-point discussion, which is usually like you need to be a little bit more thoughtful and comment on other people's topics. So like if that's kind of going to create the rapport between students. So if it's a 5-point discussion, it's asking a little more of you. It's just saying start engaging with people. If that makes sense. Cool. Sweet. All right. Well, hey, it's really good to meet you all, and have a good Monday night. Hit me up if you need anything. I'll be here. Yeah, I'll be here. And Friday night, I'll see you, some of you, at the same time.
And for the Saturday, the
Yeah.
small groups,
Yes.
when do you prefer?
When do I prefer?
Yeah, like can we just jump in and choose whatever time, or
Yeah. So there's I'll make sure you have it. There's a schedule. I think I call it this Saturday. It's kind of a long name, but it's a scheduling form that basically you can set your time, and you can set it out 15 to 20 minutes, or you can set 2 time slots. So you could even do 30 minutes. You could be like, I want 30 minutes. I need 30 minutes of your time. And you just put your name and the reason for the meeting. And yeah, I'll make sure you have that. I'll just send it to you personally, but it should be in your email. I think I sent it to everybody.
I got that.
Okay.
The one with the slots, and then we just
Yeah. So that's for Saturday, and every week I'm gonna delete it, and then it's gonna start over for the next week. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thanks for your question. All right, everyone. Good night. Great to meet you. We'll be in touch. Enjoy.